Pete Hegseth is out of control, and I want to give you a little bit of a specific quote from someone who was in the crowd, a general in the crowd, actually a few, for his speech, who characterized what it was like to be high up in the military, taken from around the world to sit for that bonkers speech that we talked about now a few times, and have your supposed leader, your boss, up on stage making a fool of himself, as Pete Hegseth did. I think insulting the honorable people in the crowd. Then I'll show you the clip that was on screen here. But remember, before getting into that you have headlines like this: Pentagon Pete's manic meltdowns exposed by aides. And he's just, from what we can tell, even people who previously were loyal to him, you had one of the people that he pushed out because he suspected him of leaking, but then it didn't really add up, ended up going around and saying he's just so preoccupied on the wrong things. He's kind of an emotional mess, and he's having these meltdowns, and he's freaking out, he's screaming at people. And you go, well, that makes sense. Maybe they were trying to get a terrorist and not just a fishing boat, but like real terrorists, and maybe they were trying to, and he's freaking out because that's intense. No, it'll be over leaks, and it'll be over loyalty and stuff like that. And he's probably going to have one of those meltdowns whenever he finds out it was leaked that the generals in his epic speech were not exactly wowed by him. LA Times has this report. Generals reportedly criticize being flown from around the world to meeting with Hegseth. Total waste of money. More like a press conference than briefing the generals, one of the attendees told Politico. Could have been an email. That would have been a really manic email. No more dudes in dresses! Woke is dead! A third called it a total waste of money. And it goes through what he was talking about. The Department of War is not toxic, it's based. Hegseth also said that to ensure peace, we must prepare for war. Yeah, no, I get that. For war, we need no war, as Trump said. Preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting, uncompromising in that pursuit, he said. NBC News claimed that most members of the audience didn't react. Yes, we knew that. And then it goes through the context of kind of how he's been unstable and obsessed on the wrong things. But those are the big quotes of, this was a waste of my time. This could have been an email. What the heck is this guy doing? And then you had a piece out of the Wall Street Journal, the conservative Wall Street Journal, titled "The Embarrassing Pete Hegseth." The Pentagon needs sober, judicious leadership, not a drama queen who makes things jarring and fevered. Okay, Peggy. Sober? We're going to put sober in there? I love that. Because that's something like sober leadership, is a phrase, but there's no way she put that past her editor and they didn't know exactly what they were doing. We need a sober leader. Okay, Peggy. Who's Peggy? Let's see. Peggy Noonan. Killing it, at least on that article. But here's Pete Hegseth getting asked about leaks, and he says it's disgusting. Please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. It is free. Oh, here, let me get the audio.
Leaks coming out of the Pentagon.
Well, they're not helpful. They're not legal. If someone's handing over or providing information that is classified or otherwise not for disclosure, that's a problem. So we're doing everything we can protocol-wise to make sure that those are minimized. And unfortunately, we live in an era where people do things like that. Journalists solicit things like that, which I think is disgusting. When journalists are saying, hey, send us classified information. That's why we have a policy at the Pentagon around what kind of conduct journalists will have in the building, too. We take these things very seriously, and leaks are a problem. We're going to try to address them.
And would you start using polygraphs to stop the leaks?
I think we'll use whatever tools we need, ultimately, especially with our own service members who can never be party to that, or our own civilians who can never be party to leaking. We're setting clear rules at the Pentagon. We're not playing games. We're not allowing everybody to roam around the building. That was the policy before, Peter. If you were a Pentagon reporter, you could just walk around the building. No badge, no escort, no nothing. Walk into offices, talk to anybody. Who knows where there's classified information. We're making the rules more like you might say the White House. Can you roam the White House wherever you want?
Typically not without getting a Secret Service guy up in my grill.
So we're just normalizing it. Yes, you can be in the press area, briefing room. But
Okay, so I let that play way too long. Oh my gosh. First of all, can I just say, because sometimes I think people are like, Luke is too biased. He never gives Hegseth a chance. He never gives Trump a chance. And if you think that, I'm doing a new thing with myself where for every 1,000 things negative I say about someone, I have to say one positive thing, okay? I think Pete Hegseth is handsome. I do. I was noticing that. I was like, he has good hair. He's fit. He's doing his push-ups and his pull-ups as he's been posting for us. And I think he's a handsome guy. He's a handsome devil. Has devilish good looks. Right? So there's my one positive thing of the day. And I think his suits actually fit kind of nice. There you go. I did too. That's two. So I would love him. Do we really think it's true that journalists could go wherever they want? They would come. They would sit down at my desk. They would drink my coffee. They would text my wife. They would say, when are you getting... Oh, well, I'm going to get home later. They would say, I'll meet you at the motel down the street. They would say, I'm going to treat you better than Pete ever did. They would just do whatever they want in the building, these journalists. I did not know if that's where that was going. I just kind of... Sometimes I just let it take me where it wants to go. And it almost always goes back to... So I do think that what Hegseth's trying to do there is rationalize a really irrational... I'm kind of moving like Pete right now. A really irrational policy that he's implemented, which is getting... Okay, if you want to restrict where journalists go, that's one thing. But what he's doing, and he didn't mention this, was forcing journalists to sign an agreement saying they won't publish reporting on anything that the Pentagon doesn't authorize, which not even just classified stuff, anything, which would destroy journalism about the Pentagon, because a lot of the good reporting about the Pentagon is not stuff they would want us to release. That's how we hold them accountable. And it's not like anyone's been put in danger through reporting during Hegseth's stint at the Pentagon, because that's what he wants you to believe is, hey, we got to restrict. They're putting our brave service members in danger by leaking these things. No. The only person doing that is you, brother. You're the only one who, before the operation, accidentally leaked to a journalist. The journalist had the character to wait to report on it until after the operation was over to keep people safe. But you were the only irresponsible person there. And then the other reports about you being a mess and about all these different aspects of your governance, that's 101 journalism stuff that they should be reporting on. And him now strapping people to polygraphs and having them sign loyalty pledges and promising that they won't meet his wife. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's so dumb. It's dumb. Then Marine veteran and Senator Ruben Gallego said that Hegseth is a laughing stock within the Defense Department. And you're going to have mixed views. There's going to be people who are hyped about what Hegseth is doing. I'm sure. Inside, I've met a lot of military brothers and sisters, and a lot of them are pretty right-wing. But some of them, and I respect all of them, but some of them, I think, are seeing what's up here. And even the ones who were MAGA before are probably still MAGA, but a little bit embarrassed by the optics of Pete Hegseth. And that makes sense.